Bartolomeo is a marked man, as he's put himself in the crosshairs of a man who doesn't go out of his way to make beef with anyone, unless your name is Marshall D. Teach. But let's take a look at what the future, or possibly the past, looks like for Bartolomeo, the #1 Straw Hat fanboy. Back in the Dressrosa arc, we're introduced to Bartolomeo as a competitor in the Coliseum amongst the likes of Luffy, Jesus Burgess, Rebecca, and more. He quickly shows that he has a pretty OP ability with his barrier devil fruit, as when a gladiator was talking smack about Luffy in the hallway, Barto silences him, almost crushing him like a bug against the wall, and putting the fear of God in him. This love for the Straw Hats, and especially Luffy, came from the fact that Bart was present in Logtown the day Luffy was almost beheaded by Buggy and saved by a seemingly miraculous lightning bolt. From that day, Bartolomeo followed the Straw Hats closely, until he eventually decides to embark from the East Blue to follow in their footsteps. Fast forward to the end of the Dressrosa arc, and Barto, along with several other Coliseum contestants, have become the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Although I believe that Bart is probably the most dedicated of the bunch, he's even kind enough to give the Straw Hats a ride to Zoe. This is the last time we see Bart before a certain incident. Who cares if it's in Emperor's territory? One of the many cover stories that appears in One Piece is the Tales of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, which shows the journey that each captain of the Grand Fleet takes post-Dressrosa. During Bartolomeo's part, he's seen landing on a certain island in the New World, and basically tries to force the residents to buy Luffy merch, whether it's stickers or pins. One of his crew points out the fact that this is actually in Emperor's territory, but Bart gives no fucks and decides to burn Shanks' flag while holding up Luffy's. And even his crew is shocked by this, besides this guy. And everyone needs a friend like this, that's just down for the foolishness no matter what. I don't think Bart would be bold enough to do this without a certain scene that happens at the end of Dressrosa. In the aftermath of the battle against the Don Quixote family, Fujitora raises up a country's worth of rubble into the air, which scares the piss out of pretty much everybody, because this is one of the best devil fruit feats we've seen from any of the admirals. Barto yells to Luffy to hurry and run to the port so they can escape, and much to his surprise, Luffy turns around and attacks Fujitora, which shocks pretty much everybody, but Luffy stands in his resolve, stating that if he's gonna be the Pirate King, he'll have to beat whoever stands in his way, Emperor or Admiral. It doesn't matter. Luffy has smoke for everyone. So I think this moment empowered Barto to not care about going against an Emperor of the Sea. Shanks' unfinished business. At the end of the Wano arc, after blasting Green Bull with Haki from miles away, Shanks tells the rest of the crew that they're not going to stop at Wano because he's aware of what Bart did, who's an underling of Luffy. He knows he has to settle things with Bart before he sees Luffy again, so he can maintain the trust of his people. And we see in the Egghead Island arc that a lot of the people in Shanks' greater fleet are actually weaker individuals that he protects under his flag. When Eustace Kid was about to wreck a bunch of his allied ships, Shanks sprung into action to protect them. Ironically, these are two people who absolutely adore Luffy, so you'd think they'd actually get along under different circumstances. You see, my unfinished business is getting to 1,000 subs by the end of this year, which I need your help with since 96% of the people watching this video are not subscribed. So let your opinion be known in the daily community polls, and give the video a like so it can be shared with others who might like it too. Shanks versus Bartolomeo. Now, how would an actual fight go between Shanks and Bartolomeo? You might actually be surprised. Bartolomeo has the barrier fruit, which allows him to make a damn near impenetrable force field. These barriers have withstood pretty much every attack they've taken directly, whether that's Dellinger trying to kill Bellamy on Dofi's order, a super charged up King Punch on the level of an Emperor's attack, or even a slash from an enraged Kozuki Odin at the peak of his powers. It's been proven time and time again that a head-on attack against the barrier is not always the best way to go. Bartolomeo can also manipulate these barriers' shape, but if there is any kind of opening, he can still be very vulnerable to attacks. And then there's Shanks, aka the Haki God. While we've seen Bart's power block some really powerful attacks, Shanks' power is on another level. Not only does he have overwhelming physical power, but his advanced Haki abilities allow him to see a good bit into the future, cancel out other people's future sight, even though Bart doesn't have that, and hit someone with a Conqueror's Haki blast from extreme distances. This is truly a case of the immovable object meeting an unstoppable force. But because of how versatile Shanks is with his Haki, it's going to be a pretty easy clean sweep for him. The aftermath. Now, we don't know if by the time we see Shanks and Egghead, if he's crossed paths with Bartolomeo yet, especially because Shanks was leaving Elbaf soon, but I'm gonna say that by the next time that he sees Luffy, which could be as soon as next arc in Elbaf, the deed will be done. I actually did a video talking about what would happen if that is the case and why Luffy versus Shanks needs to happen. Similar to what Shanks said at the end of Wano, the ball will be in Luffy's court for him to show that he's an emperor and protect a person in his fleet, and to maintain the trust of his people. But this won't be the only instance where Luffy has to protect someone that bears the Straw Hats flag.